I'm meteorologist Melissa Nord. 11 o'clock update on Tropical Storm Erin as in. And you'll notice here that the winds have not changed since Erin first formed 2 days ago on Monday. The winds are at 45 miles per hour, moving west at 17 miles per hour. Pressure is 1,004 millibars. The size of the wind field, though, has increased a little bit. Tropical storm force winds now extend 60 miles outside the center. And this is not a storm that looks overall impressive on satellite imagery. It has been moving over an area without very warm ocean waters, a little bit of dry air it's been battling as well. So we do have a little bit of thunderstorm activity right near the center, but this is a very lopsided storm as of right now. We have a lot of this storm activity kind of on the western and southern side of it, with not much filling in on the eastern side. However, all signs in our models point to this storm having a much better potential of further development as we get into the end of the week. So currently, I put it on the map right there so you can see it's got, of course, on the northwestern side of it, a lot of drier air, a little bit of Saharan dust there. But now on the eastern side, I'm going to take this air moisture map actually out to, let's see if I can move the timeline to right now. And I just want to show you there's a little bit of dry air that this is battling on that eastern side. You see that little bit of kind of tan shade on the map? So that's the dry air that it's battling. That's why we're not seeing convection on the eastern side of it really building up. And it's also moving over an area where it has not had warm ocean waters. Tropical systems thrive off of the warmer waters in the ocean. Not just warm at the surface, but eventually depth to that warmth as well. They really like at least 80 degrees for temperatures. And you can see where Erin's path has gone so far, all the way from the Cabo Verde Islands westward. We haven't had those warm ocean waters. Well, now Erin is finally entering into a region where there are some warmer waters, and then they get a lot warmer as it gets in here just north of the Leeward Islands. So we do expect with the warmer waters to mean a signal that this storm will start to take off and finally gather a little bit of momentum. Spaghetti models this morning still pretty closely clustered between now and say Friday of the week. You can see it moving north of the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Then as we get into next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there is a little more spread in these models. So what they're trying to depict is where the center of Erin's ultimately going to go and what are the steering currents going to look like. I'll just show you a big picture. The storm moves westward, then into next week. It's getting steered in between these two bigger areas of high pressure, and it's really getting steered. It's this one right here, that subtropical high, the Bermuda high in the Atlantic that we're watching to see how strong is that going to be, where is it going to be positioned, and then where is the high over the United States going to be positioned, and that will ultimately determine when is that turn to the north going to happen. Will it happen sooner? Will it happen a little bit later? The later that turn to the north happens, well, the closer that it would be to the United States, and eventually that means differences to the impacts. Let me show you the official cone, though, of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center. By tomorrow at this time, we should have a strengthening tropical storm. Then by Thursday night or early Friday morning, Erin will become a hurricane. After that, all signs point to this strengthening even further, so major hurricane status reached by the end of the weekend. And the cone of uncertainty does not include the Virgin Islands as of now. However, by the weekend, we're going to have large swells already reaching the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, the northern Leeward Islands, and these large swells can lead to rough surf and also a high risk of rip currents. So dangerous boating conditions are likely there over the weekend and through early next week. And depending on the size of Erin, there could also be some effects felt well outside the center of it, depending on where it actually goes. I'll show you a difference of a couple different models, the American and the European, for where this is the velocity. So what's happening, where's the upward motion of the storm, where's the energy with this storm. And you can see it there. The American model is positioned on Sunday morning just north of the Leeward Islands, and then here's that kind of kick to the north right around the high. You can see the high depicted over there. We have that kind of C shape on the map, and it gets kicked to the north right around the high. Well, let me show you the European model, which is similar in a sense because it has the center of the storm just north of the Leeward Islands. It does have it a little bit closer to them than the American model, but watch as we go between Saturday night and Monday. There's that kick to the north. The kick to the north on the European model, because it starts off a little lower, it doesn't get steered north as quickly, so the center of it gets a little further west before that kick to the north happens. Now, historically, based on a lot of previous storm tracks that have been in Erin's position before, the chance of a landfall in the eastern coast of the United States only sits at about 6%. But every single storm is different. Every single storm behaves differently. That's just based on history with the storms. We'll see how these steering currents end up playing up for the weekend. So we talked about those steering currents. I'm going to show you what else that we're watching in the tropics. We have Erin and we have two other areas we're watching. We've been talking about this all week long, this little cluster of thunderstorms off the coast of Nova Scotia. At this point, it does not look like it's going to develop. Also, what probably will not develop is our little system off the Yucatan Peninsula. That's going to move in towards the Bay of Campeche in the western Gulf, and it has a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. So probably won't happen, but if it did, the next name on the list is Fernand. So again, Erin, still no change to its winds right now, but over the next 48 hours, it will look a lot different by Friday morning than what it does look like now. We're expecting it to go from a tropical storm to a hurricane in a matter of 48 hours and then become a major hurricane as we head through the weekend. Steering currents will kick it more northward in direction by early next week.